I have some unfortunate news on today's video, and that unfortunate news is that you have been lied to about your retirement over all these years. So the good news about this video here today, though, is I'm going to break down the 5 biggest lies that Americans are told, and especially those who have pensions. You've heard me talk about it before. You are in a unique situation, and you should be taking unique advice and looking at more advanced strategies and planning, knowing that you are in a better place than most of your peers. And so in today's episode of Joe Knows Retirement, we're breaking down each of these lies to make sure you have a clear picture of what to expect for your retirement and making sure that you're not taking the wrong advice. One thing we hear often, you've heard me say it before, is that people often say, I don't know what I don't know. And so we're going to give you more clarity here today.
Joe knows pensions.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows Midwestern millionaires.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
As we jump into the video here today, I want to start with the number one lie we hear most often. I would say this is the number one lie, and that is you will be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. Now, that may be true for most of Americans, but people in your situation, people with pensions, especially those who've been diligent savers who may have $1 million or more saved, you likely will always be in the same or higher tax bracket as what we often see with the clients that we work with. This is the 2% club that I wrote a book about. These are the 20% of people with pensions, the 10% of people with $1 million or more saved. If you combine people in the category of both of those situations with a high income, high net worth, that's only 2% of the population. And so this crowd of people have to look at their planning differently. So what may this look for you? Well, you're likely going to pay more taxes in retirement. There's a stat out there that 80% of those in retirement will pay little to no tax on their retirement, no federal income tax. Well, if you're watching this and you have a pension, you know that's likely not the case with you. You know you're in that crowd of people that are likely going to be paying more in taxes, and paying for all those peers that aren't paying taxes is ultimately what it comes down to. And so you want to look at more advanced tax planning strategies. And so something we always recommend is to make sure you're working with a team that specializes in tax planning, making sure the CPA is in-house. So you have that full one-stop shop of all the professionals working together. You also have the estate planning taken into account with the tax planning to make sure that everything's playing together. So if you pass away, that your spouse is taken care of, your heirs and beneficiaries and potentially children are taken care of as well if you have any legacy goals. And this is something that's really important to plan for because taxes are talked about the least, as I just mentioned, but also taxes will likely be the biggest expense in your retirement. We all know this is a big concern. It's one of the biggest concerns that we hear people that reach out to us from watching our channels. They say that taxes is number one. They often say, my advisor's not talking about taxes. I want to get tax help. Or maybe they've been DIYing it and they say, I can't figure out this tax puzzle. That's what I need the most help on. And that makes sense because, like I said, it's likely the biggest expense. And so this is something that we want to spend more time on, is what we're oftentimes recommending for people. And that could mean looking at strategies like a Roth conversion, which is a really popular tax planning strategy. I've done some other videos that you can check out on this topic to learn more and see if this could be an opportunistic opportunity for you. But I will say most of our clients right now are looking for ways to move more of their money from tax deferred to tax free. Most of them have all their assets in tax deferred, and they want to look to do what's called tax diversification. And as you all know with your investments, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. You have them split up. You have them in different areas. Well, same case with your tax diversification. We don't want all of our eggs in one basket in the tax deferred. It may make sense to have more of a balance so that you can have the opportunity to now be more tax efficient when you take out income in your retirement. It's really nice to know that you have both options available rather than just the one in tax deferred. And so those are all reasons why this could be advantageous to start looking more at this tax side of things, knowing this will be a big risk and big concern and big cost in your retirement. The second biggest lie that we hear, Americans hear, especially those with pension, is to max out your 401k. Now, we just talked about this in the last point, number one, with the tax concern. So you're probably asking yourself, Joe, why is that a lie? Why is that a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing to save money? Well, it's not a bad thing to save money. My point is that you may be saving that money in the wrong places. And that's why, right now is an opportunity, as I just talked about, with the Roth 401k. So instead of just maxing out your traditional 401k, maybe it makes sense to max out your Roth 401k, or maybe you did not have this Roth option over all these years. And so maybe that is the only option that you have. And if that's the case, hey, we can't change the past. You can't beat you up because you didn't have any other options, of course. And maybe at the time when you did do these tax deferred, maybe it made sense knowing that tax rates were higher historically than what they are today. And so maybe now is the opportune time to pay those taxes on that through that Roth conversion idea or some other strategies to make sure you can be more tax efficient with your dollars. But the days of continuing to defer taxes may be gone for right now with the window of opportunity we have with the One Big Beautiful Bill. I actually just did another video here recently on the window of opportunity we have right now with Roth conversions and when you should be looking at that specifically. So hopefully that can be a valuable video for you to watch as well. And what other people forget too is that a Roth IRA, for example, funding that, you can take out a Roth at any time, whereas a Roth 401k or a 401k, you have to wait until you're 59 and a half or retired to be able to access that money. But a Roth IRA, if I put in $5,000 today, I could technically take out $5,000 today with no penalty, no tax, no issues with that. And so that is something that you could look at to maybe get not only more investment options in what you could do in your 401k, but also have that more flexibility is also an interesting concept as well. And if you're really a diligent saver, maybe you're able to max out your 401k and max out your Roth IRAs to make sure you're taking advantage of all those tax efficient options out there available to you. Now, the third biggest lie in retirement, I understand why they say it, but I want to challenge you to think further beyond this. And this one is work till you're 65 for health insurance. And they have a lot of reason to say that because health insurance is very expensive in retirement. I mean, you could be looking at $1,000 or more a month for health insurance until you reach Medicare age. And then once you're at Medicare age, it's pretty good coverage at a pretty good cost. And so you're going to be able to be taken care of from that point moving forward is what most people would suggest. And so that problem is though, is you're 60 years old and you say, I want to retire today. I want to enjoy my retirement. These are the years that I can't get back from a health standpoint. I want to go and leave my job. But you've been scolded to, hey, you can't do that because now you don't have health insurance. And so you have to work till 65 for health insurance. So obviously this makes a lot of sense if your employer is going to provide health insurance until 65 and then you don't have this worry and you're good to go. But I do want to challenge you, if you are the people that we talk to on this channel, diligent saver, pension, you're in a great financial position. You likely are not going to run out of money, even if you do retire early and have to pay for health insurance is ultimately what I'm getting at. And so with that, I want to challenge you to think about what is more important. Is it more important to enjoy your retirement or is it more important to save some more money that you may not need to save because you've already saved enough, right? So you have to really think about this concept to say, do you really need the extra money? And if not, would it be more joyful to spend that money, invest that money into yourself, into your retirement by enjoying it with time? By freeing you up from not having to go to work every day, by freeing up from not having as much stress in your retirement. And so these are the things that you need to be thinking about that you may have had a limited belief because all these years you've probably felt like you live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have enough. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I understand that concept. We have all of our clients with that concept. That's why I wrote another book called The Midwestern Millionaire is for these folks specifically. And so if that is you specifically, think outwardly. Think about running a forecast, run your numbers to see, am I going to be good to retire if I retire today? Even with this extra cost, how much money am I still going to have left over? How much money can I still spend in retirement? When we run that scenario with people in the 2% Club, oftentimes it leads to them being able to retire early, being able to afford the healthcare, and being able to avoid the trips and all the fun things they want to do in the go-go years of the retirement during the healthy years when they can do it the most. So highly suggest that you reconsider that, what I call a lie. It's technically true. Healthcare is a big concern until 65, but for our crowd, it could be a lie. It could be something holding you back from fulfilling your dreams. Now, the fourth biggest lie that Americans believe and are being told is to take Social Security early. Now, it can make sense to take early, right? Absolutely. All of these lies I'm telling you here today, it could definitely go both ways. We don't know anyone's specific situation. But the stereotypical time to take Social Security is take it as early as possible. And we have to ask ourselves, does that make sense? Well, if you have poor health or you have a low life expectancy, maybe it makes sense to take it early. Get your check while you can, because you may not outlive the break even, which I always suggest is around age 80 to 83. But if you do live past that, that's when you could argue that taking it at age 70 or any time between 62 and 70 could make more sense. So that's kind of the ballpark mathematical equation that you're looking at. Now, there's a lot of other things to look at, like the survivor benefit, spousal benefit, and what your income needs early. A lot of things to think about. But the reason why I'm suggesting this specifically for you versus your peers is because, again, your financial situation. If you have a pension and it pays you out right away, you may not have as much of an income need as your peer. Remember, if your peer retires at 60 and their Social Security doesn't start till 62, they have no income except from their investments. And so if they start opening up the investments and turning on the faucet, what are they going to be able to do with that? Or is that going to draw down all their assets? What if the market is down? Now they have to face what's called sequence of returns risk. Market's down, that's one loss. Now they have to face another loss from taking out money. Are they going to have enough time to take it up? So they have more risk in the early parts of their retirement, which a guaranteed Social Security check coming in may give them more comfort, may give them more peace, and allow them to have a better spending plan early on in retirement. Where you have an excuse. You have an excuse not to take Social Security because that pension is technically you taking Social Security already. And so that could allow you to wait to take Social Security to get a higher amount, but also allow you to do some important tax planning, Roth conversions like we mentioned earlier as an example, or take out withdrawals from your investments at lower tax rates than what it could potentially be at in the future when this three-legged stool all comes together. It's a great thing when these three things come together. You're going to have a lot to spend. You better start thinking about what you're going to do to spend that money, because you can't take it with you. There's no U-Haul behind the hearse, right? But at the end of the day, these three things with pension, Social Security, and an R&D required minimum distribution, which is when you're forced to take out money from your investments at either age 73 or 75 and each year moving forward, all three of those playing together could be a significant tax bracket you're going to have to be in. And so that's where if you delay your Social Security, now we could start to dwindle some of the tax defer down early so that now in the future, we're not hit as hard with all the extra costs from Medicare premiums, from Social Security being taxable, from being a higher tax bracket, all of those things playing together. So I'm not telling you to take Social Security at 70. I'm just telling you to consider it and run the numbers for your situation to see what makes the most sense. But just because all your peers take it at 62, that's the most common age that people take Social Security. All I'm telling you is to question and see if that is right for you, knowing your situation is different than your peers. The fifth biggest lie that we hear from Americans and from those with pensions specifically is you will not have enough in retirement. If you have a pension, that is a guaranteed amount paying to you for the rest of your life. If you have a $50,000 pension, and if that pays you for 20 years, that pays out $1 million at the end of that time. That is a generous amount on top of your investments, on top of Social Security, as we've mentioned. You are in a great spot. So the number one fear of retirees is certainly running out of money. We see that often. I understand that for your peers. But if you have a pension, what are you going to outlive? If you have $50,000 coming in each year plus Social Security, are you ever going to outlive your money? And typically the case is no, especially when you have $1 million or more saved as a cushion as well. Typically the bigger concern is running out of life is the way we position it and the way we see our clients feel, is that they're more worried about being able to do everything they want with their health, with their time in their retirement. And being able to spin it the right way instead of, just letting it sit there and grow and grow and grow. They may end up with 5 million plus when they pass away. And that could leave a great inheritance and a great legacy. But is that really what they want to see done? And do the kids really need that much wealth passed to them when you pass? And so we just want people to challenge that thinking. And maybe that means you either retire earlier. Maybe it means that you retire from your job and go work and continue to have that purpose through your work, which we're called to work, but maybe it's done in a different way. Maybe it's part-time. Maybe it's something that is going to be less responsibility so you can focus on other areas of your life more. There's so many things to think about. Volunteering, spending time with grandkids. These are all things that we can do and afford to do since we have this pension. And then I've done another video too about pension jail. That would be another good one to understand too, about understanding the right time, because a lot of you are locked in of working to a certain age because you get extra in your pension, and it may make sense to do that. But what are you giving up? You're giving up all these things I just mentioned that may get you to rethink things. And as you know, it's a proven study that if you have a pension, you are happier in retirement with that guaranteed income. So make the most of it, enjoy it, and understand that your 30 to 40 years of hard work has gotten you to this place to be able to live it out. And so if you're watching this video and if you're looking for more specific content on your situation, you're in the right spot. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We produce content for those pensions, million plus. So if that is you, this is going to be the best YouTube channel you can possibly find with your retirement planning. But I'd also like, if that is you, to offer you a copy of our book, The 2% Club. Again, I wrote this book just for you. There's not everyone out there in the world that is like you. So this is a very specific book. And so I would love to offer to you. So if you just scan the QR code or click the link below, we will send you out a copy if you'd like a physical copy, or maybe you just want the digital copy or the audiobook version. You'll have the option to select that. So just put in your name there and we'll be able to send that out to you. And hopefully that can help as you plan continually with your retirement. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I'm going to connect some other videos here today too, so you can learn more about this topic and continue to make the right decisions to enjoy your retirement.